What up, guys? This is Richard here again with a new deck profile for you guys. It's the Artifact deck for the April 2014 format. As you all know, Artifacts came out in the Primal Origins booster pack. They revolve around level 5s, rank 5s, spam. They're monsters that are treated as spell and trap cards with multiple effects when summoned during your opponent's turn when destroyed. So let's get to the deck, everyone. And also the shaking of the camera, I do apologize. I'm using my hands instead of my tripod because it ended up breaking, so mind the shaking of the camera. Let's try to get that a little better for you guys before I start. There we go. That should at least help. Now, first off, we have the Artifact Labrys. Labrys is a level 5 with a hand trap effect, in a sense. When an artifact on your field is destroyed, during your opponent's turn and sent to the graveyard, he special summons himself from your hand. He also has the same special summoning effect in the grave when destroyed during your opponent's turn. So you have multiple special summons for him. He's a 20th. That's also the interesting thing about these cards is they all either have a really high attack or really high defense. It just depends on the monster, but they're all usually over 2,000 attack or defense. So that's Labrys. Then we have 3 Blue Boy, or Artifact Moraltic, if you prefer the actual name. He is the destruction of the deck. He destroys face-up cards on your opponent's side of the field whenever he's summoned during your opponent's turn. This helps against multiple plays your opponent's trying to make. He's 2100 attack for basically a Cyber Dragon style punch. Then we have 2 Caduceus, or or I don't really know how to say his name, guys. I do apologize. I've just been calling him Cad. He is the draw power of the deck. Whenever he's summoned during your opponent's turn, after he's summoned, every time you special summon a artifact that turn during your opponent's turn, you draw a card, which is really nice in this deck to get more draws. Then we have the engine of the deck. I do say engine, and yes, I understand I'm running 2 with him, but it is Artifact Yugioh. I do apologize about that, guys. I'm gonna get these names wrong a lot. They're really weird names. He is the engine because his special summon effect is destroy up to 2 set cards you control. This helps you get plays off such as Moraltic or Cad and summon into Labrys from hand. Anything you can summon, you'll be able to summon when you get him out. Next we have 2 Aegis. Aegis is protection from targeting and destruction on all your artifacts during the turn it's summoned. And then we have 1 Achilles Shield. Achilles Shield is a threatening roar monster. When he's summoned, your opponent can't declare attacks on artifacts. And it's just during that turn, though. Then, with the non-artifact monsters, we have Star Drawing. He's treated as a level 5 when he's used for Exceed material, and he draws a card when the monster you're using is Exceed summoned. Then we have Chaos End Master. He's a level 3 tuner. He's used for your level 8s, like so. But his ability is you can special summon monsters with 1600 less attack from your deck when he destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the grave. So it's basically, if your opponent sets a monster and you have him in hand opening turn, and you can destroy the monster, instant level 8. It's that simple. And I'm running 2 of each of these guys. Now we have, for the spells, 2 Instant Fusion, 1 Dark Hole, 2 Upstart Goblins, I apologize, 1 Book of Moon, 2 Double Cyclone. They destroy yours and your opponent's cards. Normally this card kind of sucks, but for this style of deck, it actually is very good because you want your cards to be destroyed. The original style did run 3, however, now with Soul Charge out, you want to be able to have 2 Soul Charge for Summon from Grave, because you really don't have any kind of Summon from Grave ability. And then, finally for the spells, 3 Artifact Ignition. They're basically MSTs that after they destroy cards they set artifact monsters straight from your deck. It also has a second condition when destroyed by an opponent's card effect. Your opponent skips their next battle phase. But I mean, it's good. It's really good card because no matter what, you're going to stop your opponent from doing something, and or you'll be able to get an artifact onto the field. Sorry, guys. Let's get a quick drink, real quick. Anyway, moving on to traps. We have 3 artifact. My bad. Malevolent Catastrophe. Malevolent Catastrophe is, in and of itself, a heavy storm trap card, as you all know. And it just helps get everything off really quickly when your opponent attacks. 3 Artifact Sanctum. This trap summons artifacts straight from your hand. Deck. Deck. My fault, guys. When you get that effect off during your opponent's turn, if you have 2 set and you don't have Malevolent Catastrophe, but you have Sanctum, summon Galtech, get some plays off. That's simple. When it's destroyed by your opponent's card effect as well, it has a second ability, and that is to destroy 1 card your opponent controls. And then for staples, we have Torrential, Bottomless, Compulse, and Solemn Warning. Moving on to the side deck. For hand traps, 1 Max C, 1 Effect Failure, 1 Ally of Justice Cycle Reader. He's a level 3 tuner that banishes lights when it's discarded, so it's good for mirror matches, and or other attribute style decks with lights. DD Crow, 2 DD Crow to be exact, 1 System Down for machine decks, 2 Mind Crush, 1 Breakthrough Skill, 2 Overworked, 2 Imperial Iron Wall, and 2 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. And then finally, moving on to the extra deck, we have 2 Paracycloid from the instant fusions, 2 Artifact Durandales. If you don't know his effect, he has 2 that can be activated during either player's turn when you detach. You detach, and if your opponent activates a monster and or normal spell or trap effect, that effect then becomes they must destroy a set spell or trap on your opponent's side of the field. So that's a decent card to get plays off. The other effect is that it basically is reload. Both players shuffle their hand and draw the amount of cards they shuffled in. It has an interesting play if you run Droll Lockbird in this deck. I honestly don't run that play. 1, because I don't have Droll Lockbird anymore. 2, because I feel this is a better spam set than things like the Trap Tricks hand artifact style deck. I honestly just don't like that deck. I think there's too many flaws with that. Even more than straight up artifacts. Yes, you have trap power, but trap power only will last you so long. And I played this deck against that style. Malevolent Catastrophe just ends it every time. Anyway, moving on to how that works. The Droll Lockbird play is if during your opponent's turn you activate the shuffle effect of Durandale and you chain Droll Lockbird, when your opponent sends the cards back to their deck, they won't draw anything. Their hand is gone. And that's always something nice to have. Moving on to the rest of the extra deck, we have 1 Constellar Pallades, 1 Volcasaurus, 1 Zenmaio for back row destruction, 1 Tyrus, and 1 Adrius for destruction and more destruction, but this one protects itself. For 2 attacks, if you wish, you have Shark Fortress. Interesting plays come off of things like Shark Fortress and Pallades or even Tyrus, because they're almost OTKs. I mean, they're not. They'll bring your opponent down to less than 1,000 usually. But when you have something like Pallades on the field, I've already lost, because if they can't protect themselves for the next attack after you bounce their card, I mean, the game's already over anyway. Then we have number 19, Freezadon. This really probably could be an M7. I honestly don't run it because I don't have the money for an M7. Because these 9 bad boys right here, that's over $100 in cards right there. Because Moraltic is 10, Ignition is 25, Sanctum is 30. They're the most expensive cards in the deck. Everything else is usually under $5, aside from the extra deck. But still, I am a poor man. I don't have the money for other things like that, so I have Freezadon. Basically, what Freezadon does, for those of you who don't know, he detaches himself for other exceed monsters. If I want to use Durandales and I don't want to detach from that exceed monster, I can detach from Freezadon instead. So it's a nice trade-off. Then we have Gaia for piercing damage, and just because it's Gaia, because everyone loves Gaia. Then we have the Synchros, Spark Dragon, Stardust Spark Dragon, Crimson Blader, and Scrap Dragon. If you have the regular Stardust, that's fine to run too. Crimson Blader, you can use something different if you really want to. Crimson Blader is nice for things like Cyber Dragons or any of the other decks that use level 5 or higher, like Dragon Roars, things like that. And Scrap Dragon and Spark Dragon work really well together with Scrap's effect. Alright guys, that is the deck profile for Artifacts. Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, there is one card that I should probably mention, that is Artifacts Scythe. I don't have it in this deck profile because it's banned on the play set for Dueling Network, and I don't really feel like playing unranked games. But in the real deck, what you could probably do is get rid of either Star Drawing or even CAD, because you already have the 2 upstarts, and I never really get much off of CAD. I get 1, maybe 2 cards off his draw. So you can run 2 Artifact Scythes instead. Artifact Scythe is a very, very good card. When it's summoned, it stops your opponent from special summoning from the extra deck the entire turn. That is something that is very good. It's very broken. It's very essential. It's very cheap. So yeah, that's one card I will add into this deck whenever the rest of my deck comes in the mail. And enjoy the deck, guys. Let me know what you think of it. If you want to play test around, see different types of styles you want to mess with this, by all means, it's how you want it. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Anything is possible. If you think I'm dumb and you hate this deck and you think this deck is useless, that is fine. Everyone is entitled to their thoughts. But if you guys do enjoy this deck, let me know, and I will see you soon with a new deck.